Radio, freedomslips.com. It's 2 in the morning on the East Coast of the United States. I have no idea what time it is down and under, but it is time for Shiny Side Out with Dave and Mecky. So I hope you have your tinfoil hat all made and cinched down tight over your ears. So take it away, Dave and Mecky.
Hello and welcome
to Dave and what? No, it's okay. So to Dave, and you remembered you had to read. Ha!
I did. I wasn't. I was reading.
What's funny is, as soon as I started speaking, my headset said mute on, but it wasn't muted.
Hey.
Damn you.
Anyhow, Dave and Mecky's Shiny Side Out on Actually, on Revolution Radio, for Revolution.radio, from Australia. That's right, home to ideas that are fresh and, technical difficulties notwithstanding, usually pretty fun. Mostly listener funded, which means you, the listener, are holding the purse strings for us. If you can donate, please do. If you can't donate, that's okay. Just help people out the station. This is show number 668. 860 and 600. So you can catch us on the air, on the line all the time, and on your smart device. Should you have one these days, you're more likely to have a smart device than any other possession. Do you know that?
That's true.
More likely. Doesn't matter where, doesn't matter how poor you are, you're more likely to have a smart device than anything else. And that's all good. It's all good. Otherwise you couldn't hear us. It would be a tragedy. Now, if you wish to watch the show, that's okay, because it's on Archive. You can go there for free. Archive is free. Another good reason to donate. And she had Nish on today, and they were having an edition of the Cyber Witch Cafe. Always good listening, Solaris is. And you really should catch up, not just on the stuff she does for Revolution Radio. She's got a whole bunch of other stuff going on. So if you take the time to check out what she does, I thoroughly recommend you do.
Always a great show.
There's a lot of information that she has. So if you have the time, you couldn't spend it better. Now, before we start broadcasting at you in anger, which we will in just a moment, it will be an angry show. No, well, actually, it probably will be. We would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we broadcast, and for Dave.
I'm lucky enough to be in Darkinjung country.
And I, of course, in the Darug country here, which is the Greater Sydney area. I mean, well, yeah, it's a big chunk of Sydney that the Darug people inhabit. And with that, we'd like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and future. Thank you very much. And quite a week it's been. It's been a week of... one thing I need to say, though, right, before we say anything else. And I want to say that I told you so, and because I did. Because I did tell you so.
I like you the way you think, Becky.
I know, and it's actually I told everybody so. So I said, when Donald Trump comes to power, he'll do whatever's good for Donald Trump. Okay?
Here we go.
And guess what?
Did he do what was good for him?
He's doing what's good for him. You know what he's doing?
Nope.
He asked the Supreme Court to stay
the TikTok ban.
The TikTok ban, correct. Why? Because he credits TikTok.
He likes it.
And no, he doesn't just like him. He credits TikTok with winning him the election.
Yeah, that's right. Okay,
so this is funny because in his first term, he was hell-bent on banning TikTok. He really was. But it was good for him then. Now it's not good for him. So TikTok is now okay, you see? It's good for Donald Trump. It's okay for the rest of us.
The idea that they would like to break a part of TikTok for the American audience is the deeper part of the story. And good luck with that, to be honest.
Well, he doesn't really want to do that anymore. That was his first agenda point.
Yes.
Now he just wants it to be there. He just wants it to, exist.
You got to watch TikToks when you're on the toilet. That's what you got to do. It's better than tweeting on the toilet, I suppose. I think.
I'm going to say I don't know, but take your word for it. Because that's how it is.
Well, look, I remember in the olden days you went to the toilet without your smartphone, and you were rather brief, you weren't tardy, and you got the job done, and you went back to watching the television or whatever you were
for
doing.
yourself.
You know, when there's a 3 a.m. tweet or something from Donald Trump, I'm not being critical of the guy. Most people do this, I don't know why, but they do it from the toilet.
It's funny. True though.
You know what? When smart devices came out, just like when, I'm going to equate this to the fights over toilet paper during the pandemic, you couldn't write it. I don't think there was a sci-fi person that placed a smart device in the hand of the person who was going to the toilet, and they were using it actively, prolonging their period in the toilet. I never thought that was going to be a thing.
Oh, yeah, when people are lazy, you know, so...
Oh, they're lazy, all right. I saw a reel, you know, a short clip of a husband who messaged his wife from the toilet and said he couldn't get up because he'd spent so much time on it, his legs had lost circulation.
That's not good. It's a whole new kind of not good.
See, so I know that's an exaggeration, but that's actually a clip, and we follow her in to the bathroom, and she has to pull him up off the toilet. You know, it is like, sure, he might be maybe 40s, but that's...
Dave,
wow.
For better or for worse.
That's the worst. That's probably the worst. That's down the road, but it's not down at the cul-de-sac, right?
Hey.
I wouldn't like my wife to ever see me on the toilet. I'm not that kind of guy, right?
You mean normal?
Well,
you're a normal guy, that's what you are.
Hey,
you're
be
not
careful, we're going to lose some audience members calling that normal. Because, you know, there's something for everybody out there, let me assure you, good listener. Yeah, so, how is, besides that beautiful nugget, can I just segue it through the government again? So the US government?
Yeah, segue away.
I'm going to put this onto the middle screen so I'm not making this up. But the Pentagon has failed the 7th audit in a row. But it says progress has been made. Now, do you remember, who was it? Cheney? Said that they'd lost $2 trillion or something? Rumsfeld.
2 trillion.
2 trillion. On the day before 9/11.
Yeah, September 10th. Yep.
That's right. So, and that just, the next day when people were supposed to be, that was the top story, it wasn't the top story anymore for some reason.
No, not even by a long shot.
That's right. And the only reason we know about it is because someone's video recorded it and put it up on the internet. Back when faking that would be very difficult, right?
Yes. Well, no, it happened. It was a thing, yeah.
It really happened. No, and it really did happen. So now they're talking about, it says the Pentagon on Friday failed its 7th audit in a row, with the nation's largest government agencies still unable to fully account for its more than $824 billion budget. Through official stress, they are making good progress towards a clean audit next year.
I agree.
Now, that's really funny, because if I type in, if I do a search, I'm not going to leave this on the screen though, sadly for everybody.
Do you know what happens when you fail an official government audit as a private business?
You lose accreditation in 9001.
You're no longer in business for the most part, yes. And that's the thing. So, the government goes, audit, schmaudit. You know, audit is for other people. What? Yeah, you heard me. What are you going to do about it? Clearly nothing.
Oh, you know what's funny, Mickey? I'll tell you what's funny. When I typed that number in before the show, my search results came up with answers that said other departments or the US government had blah blah blah, you know, they had some amount equal to the same value, 824 billion, and now I can't find that story.
Isn't that interesting?
Now it's all about that you can't account for it. Yeah. Anyway, who cares anymore? I don't really care. So
yes, you do. You do.
Yeah. Do you know, I'm sure in the world of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Mackie, that there's a word that describes how little or quickly you get over something, because one, it's not in your control, two, it's done by someone who just has a habit in doing it, and that you just turn the other way. No, you don't even care, right? What I care about is what the government is going to do if the DOGE is able to find that money. And go, well, it was this deep black project, or what was an unacknowledged project, or we just found it was dispersed into people's bank accounts, right? Or something.
Well, Dave, that's where money belongs, okay?
Oh yeah, yeah. Just leave it at my door in a paper bag in non-sequential unmarked bills, please. That'd be great. So I remember a politician, Mackie, in Sydney, I think New South Wales Parliament, our state government, lost his job because someone sent him a bottle of champagne.
Oh, really?
Oh, totally, 100%. So he lost his job because it didn't say who it was from, and he didn't know. So he couldn't declare it.
Oh, I see. So you could really...
You could bring down a government by doing that. That's right.
You could do that, right? I mean, deliberately.
You know, it was an expensive bottle of wine, or a bottle of champagne, or whatever, right? It was over $1,000, so they had to declare it. But yeah, that's how I'm going to say that's how well our politics in Australia is audited, to a certain extent, in my opinion. I bet that's going to get past the censor. So, if that's how easy it is, why doesn't it happen elsewhere? Why? I ask a good question here, Mackie. Why do, like Josh Hamley asked the Senate inquiry, he said, I'm probably the poorest here on the committee. Seeing my comrades, my fellow workers, comrades probably a bad word to use in the Senate inquiry, but it was about where did all the money go, and how people in American politics are not held to account for what would normally be considered insider trading.
Oh no, they are, but are they? Right?
Yeah, that's right. I declared it, so it's all good. That's usually what they say. But if you're a signatory on a piece of legislation that means that a third-party contractor is going to get the job, and you buy stock in that third-party provider, and you profit 1 cent from it, that's insider trading.
Yeah, well, I mean, trading, schmading, that's a buck between friends, eh? What?
You owe me $1. That's right. So, I think it's a good question that Josh asked, but there isn't enough policing of that to go around in American Parliament, or their political system. And you know what? It's not up to me to make a call on it. I'm only repeating his question, right? So I couldn't possibly get into trouble for saying that or asking that question. They couldn't. Is it? Surely.
Yes, you could. If you try hard enough, I'm sure you could.
I'm sure. Yeah.
No, but look, Dave has a point. But see, this is the question of accountability. You know, I think it was custodes ipsos custodiet or something like that, which means who watches the watchers. And the truth is, in a system that is inherently corrupt, which unfortunately, and I mean it, unfortunately, most political systems that we have today, right, in the world are inherently corrupt. And I mean, Benjamin Netanyahu right now is standing trial for his alleged corruption, you know, which was around, I guess, it's a bribery, gifts. Let's call it gifts, right? Let's be generous and call it gifts. He's accused of for not just receiving but asking for a number of gifts. I'm not sure that's how gift giving works, but
hence my example of, you know, unmarked bills in a paper bag.
That's the one. But you know, I always thought gifts had to be given, really, not asked for. But what do I know?
But isn't that what children do? They ask Santa for a gift.
That's what I heard.
Yeah. You know, Joe's just a big kid.
Sometimes they don't. But ultimately, you know, he and then, look, it's not. The Israelis are quite strict. They've put Olmert, Ehud Olmert. He was found guilty and served jail time for. But he was an ex-Israeli prime minister. But compared to what Netanyahu is doing, he's just like him stealing, you know, some lunch money. Whereas Netanyahu is just doing, you know, a big bank heist. So, yeah, but there is no true accountability, Dave. To your point,
no, there's not.
There is none. Once the power structures are fairly set, which ours are, and have been in place for a long time now, I mean, it's really a time factor, I think, more than anything else.
You've got to get it quick, right?
Yeah, essentially. And once it's set, then, you know, it really becomes an old boys club, and it is boys mostly. I mean some ladies in there, but not many. It's mostly an old boys club, and they don't care. They're not accountable to anyone. And if you try to rock that boat, you're going to find yourself catching the Russian defenestration virus real fast. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can't actually go against the system. You can't. It's bad for you unless you have backing. Unless maybe you've got the people that are with you or something. You have to have something that backs you, right? If you're on your own, the system is just gonna eat you up. That's just what's gonna happen, Dave. And there will never be any accountability. Not true. Okay. I mean, the ultimate accountability, you all say, is probably in America with the president, right? The buck stops with the president. What the president do? Mr. Biden decided, you know, I'm a father. And look, motivation aside, I understand from a human perspective. I completely understand why he did what he did. I want to say this, right? I get it completely. But as the president of the United States, are you held up to a higher measure? Should he have pardoned his son? Right? Should he or shouldn't he? I mean, same with what Donald Trump is going to do now. Should Donald Trump pardon all those people that he says he's going to pardon? Well, it's up to him. Up to him to do it or not. But are these people meant to be held to a higher standard? And in most Americans' minds, the answer is yes, they should be held to a higher standard. Are they? Not really, because there's no consequence to the action. Okay? No one can come after Biden, you know, because he pardoned his son. No one is going to come after Trump because he decided to pardon a whole bunch of people that other people might think they should stay in jail. But the point is that there isn't anything left, really, that allows us to monitor or guard against corruption. It just doesn't exist anymore.
Do you know what an insane thing would be? If Biden pardoned Trump and on Trump's first day he pardons Biden.
That'd be funny. The last point I'm going to make around the corruptibility and incorruptibility of things is what happened in 2008. Now, it was fraud and negligence, if you will, or just lack of caring on a grand scale that caused the global financial crisis. if you're interested, there's a lot of great research material out there, and the best movie I've seen is The Big Short.
That's right.
It treated the material really, really well. So if you want to do yourself a favor and understand it, and they do a really good job in explaining it. Really, I have to say. Anyway, the point is this: none of this could have been perpetrated, right? None of this fraud would have been possible if the ratings agencies like Moody's, I'm not singling them out, but it's the one that comes to mind right now, right? Had valued the stock or the financial instruments, as they're called, correctly. If they had done the right thing, then the fraud and the subsequent collapse, would not have been possible. Just wouldn't. Why do you say that is? Because it was the ratings that made people buy those things.
That's right.
Those bonds, those all packed up.
Financial instruments.
Right? And even when everything was falling apart, they still wouldn't rate it correctly. They did in the end, once the big banks had offloaded all of their
they waited.
Stock.
They waited to clean them out, and then that saw banks fail because they ended up with a bag full of doorknobs. Yeah.
Yeah. And the big banks were okay though.
And then the big banks bought the little banks that failed. Remember that?
Well, that's exactly what happened. So, and was it fair? Oh, of course it wasn't fair. It was anything but fair, right? And the consequence was what we all saw: the collapse of the, pretty much the collapse of the global economy to some extent, right? And nobody was held accountable. Why?
And I like the description, Mickey. The description, subprime.
Yeah.
So that's like negative growth.
Because
prime means like way above neutral.
Yeah. And it's like suboptimal. What are your conditions? It's like when in the movie Oppenheimer, Matt Damon's character asks,
"What's the possibility?"
Oppenheimer, what's the chance of this going sideways? Oh, 99 point or 0.001. He goes, what? Well, what do you expect? Oh, not zero would be good. Zero. And Oppenheimer says, well, it's an unproven technology, right? So what do you expect? No, but there is no such thing as a non-corruptible system anymore. You want to change something? Change the system.
That's right.
Change it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you don't, then you have what you have, and good luck to you. But you can't complain. And shows like this, and in a lot of shows on Revolution Radio, but not just Revolution Radio. I mean, there's so many out there now, so many researchers, so much material is out there that can no longer let you plead ignorance. If you want to change the system, change it. Don't vote for Republicans and don't vote for Democrats. Yeah. I'm not talking about revolution. It's not necessary. It's not necessary, right? It might become necessary, I don't know, in the future. But right now, all you have to do is not vote. Don't vote the major parties. I say the same thing to every other country in Australia as well. Vote the independent candidate. Vote that. Because those independent candidates, right, they're not part of a party machine. They'll have to look after the interests of their particular electorate. They have to. So they bring, I mean, that's really how it's meant to work, right? You have got to represent, because we're living not in a direct democracy, but most of us, in a representative democracy, right? Where you have the representative speak for you. That's how Congress works. That's how Parliament works in Australia as well. UK, Germany, most democracies, this is how it works. Switzerland is slightly different. But if they're part of the party system, they don't really care about because they move people around. I mean, you remember this, Dave. They just move candidates around to whatever seat they thought would give them the best chance of
and
winning.
They changed the borders.
Yeah. Oh, they did.
I know.
They got rid of a whole seat where my brother lives. It's so funny. And so vote independent, because the independent candidate doesn't have a party system to rely on. The people have to vote for that person, and that person then speaks for whatever that council or whatever electorate.
Constituency.
Yeah, whatever they are. And that's good. That's how it should be.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because what we saw in Australia, and I'm sure if there were an investigation, it's exactly the same for every single country in the world.
Mm-hmm.
The ruling party will funnel more money into the seats where their candidate was voted into, and the seats that are sort of, wonky a little bit, maybe forgive them a push to wait for us next time.
They're on the fence. That's right.
Yeah, that's where they send the money.
Yeah.
The other electorates, which are held by the opposition or whatever,
nothing.
Not so much. That's right.
Not even a wet sock.
That's what you get.
Raspberry. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, it's pretty crazy. Look, I wanted to, since when it was Thursday or whatever, or Wednesday, there was some crazy things going on. I've got to be careful not to show the video, but there we go. So, the Russian air defense system allegedly fired a missile at a passenger plane, and it lost hydraulic fluid out of the primary, secondary and tertiary systems, causing it to become uncontrollable. That's not the big story here. So what's an interesting story is now combined with Moscow's testimony here, or what the story that they're using is that they were in the area where the plane was landing. Believe it or not, there was Ukrainian drones and they had an active air defense system, and so they GPS jammed, like a 200-mile radius, and the plane had to do a bit of dead reckoning to be able to take off, and they weren't warned about the active missile system, this poor plane, and they flew through let's call it an active war zone, and the plane was targeted by the missile, and it was not struck directly, but these are proximity. So the missile will fly up to nearer the tail of an aircraft, explode, firing shrapnel in all directions. It's not a shaped charge by any means, and it'll just pepper the plane now, or whatever its intended target. So it did that, and at the moment that occurred, and the pilot did it flew for a little while, maybe 10 minutes or 20 minutes, as it was losing hydraulic fluid, and then eventually it ran out and it became uncontrollable. And at that point, when the pilot did a mayday, or in whatever language it was, because it's Mayday, it's help me, Russia closed the two airports, one that it had taken off from, and the closest one, it said no, it denied them access to land. So the pilot radioed across the Caspian Sea to where we know it now to be the crash site, and it struggled the hell out of it trying to get it there. It eventually got it there, but a couple of minutes out from the coast is when it was out of range of the GPS jammer. Now that's not ideal if you're a pilot, right? So they dead reckon their way almost perfectly across, and as we know, they and we've seen the footage. I'm not going to show it. We've seen the footage there, and they unsuccessfully landed the plane 100%, maybe 70%. There was the front edge, maybe half, if you will, of the plane was destroyed. Some people survived out of the nose front, or front of the wings, or wings forward, but in the tail there was a really high success of life. Now, it took a while, but I did manage to get the passenger list, and I've put it through even the crew list I've got. Right, I put it through some AI, trying to work out who anyone was, and I'll let you say the same comment when we did this before the show started, but there didn't seem to be anyone of any importance in the logs. Look, that's important to know. But, as my esteemed co-host said earlier, are you with me, Mackie?
I'm right here, brother.
Well, could you make the same comment? Do you remember what it was? No.
What was the comment?
That important people may not fly under their regular name.
Oh, sorry. Correct. They might be under aliases. Same with hotel check-ins, by the way.
Yeah, that's right. So, any good Hollywood film will prove that. Same thing. So, look, I thought I might have found something interesting, but no, it's just turned up a red herring. So I don't know. But you know what? Those people who say that plane crashes happens in threes, they always happen in threes. A South Korean plane, just a couple of hours ago, it's now reached 179 that didn't make it. And they're not going to show you any footage, except for, you'll find the footage on X if you're looking for it. The current description of what happened is that a bird strike has caused the 737 undercarriage on one side of the aircraft to fail, and so it didn't deploy, and it just zoomed off the end of the runway into a brick wall and caught fire. It crashed into it very fast, to be honest with you, and I'm kind of surprised. So there must have been something else wrong with it. I was on a flight on a 737, funny enough, that its flaps didn't deploy, and we had to go in so hot and take the flattest approach so that they could put the air brakes on really quickly. We had to land at the beginning of the runway. Normally it can be like a third in where the markers are, but this one, it seemed like it was, when I watched the footage, it seemed impossible for that aircraft to pull up in time, and they would have been better just going full thrust and going round for another attempt, but they didn't. And it's so far it only had 181 passengers, but it's currently at 179 that didn't make it. It said it skidded off the airport runway upon landing, and it hit a fence. No, it was a wall, not a fence, and it really hit it almost at like maybe 200 knots or something crazy. So yeah, look, it's really sad. Now, if the people who are traditionally worried about air crashes, that you would then expect another one to happen. I don't want it to happen, and I haven't had any foresight that says it's going to happen or anything, but I know my mum used to rattle on with it, and everyone in the business said, oh, it always happens in threes. So look, just keep your eyes peeled. I don't want it to happen. It's such a sad thing, Mackie.
Well, it's tragic because it is, well, one would say unnecessary, right? But if you've got a war zone, if you have got international chaos, and this is what we're looking at, by the way, right now, right? International chaos, where a story like this will have a life cycle unless something major, or stories like that, unless there's something amazing to it, like was it MH370?
Yes, and 17, the one that was shot down over Russia.
Now, MH, the
one that went missing, 370.
The Malaysian government just agreed to another search. There's a company that says, I'll do it for free unless I find something. Right. So if they find it, great. But at least they're looking again, right? So this is, but it's years ago now, years and years ago. So But even greater tragedy, which might have slipped from people's mind unless it hadn't been the 10th anniversary, is the tsunami that hit the Indian Ocean.
One, yeah.
10 years ago actually.
That's right.
Day. So and 250,000 people died in that. But again, not front of mind really. Right? So these plane crashes, as tragic as they are, and we know that a few were shot down as well before this, right?
Yep.
It'll get into the news cycle, and then it'll be out of the news cycle, and that's that. And it's an unfortunate thing. The thing is this, right? Have you heard anything about drones recently? Hasn't stopped.
Hasn't stopped.
It's off the front page, though.
That's right.
It's off the front. And the funniest thing, I don't know if you remember this, there were these, I think 3 or 4 objects that were shot down in Northern America, or either Canada or Northern United States.
British Columbia, Canada, yep.
And they were shot down, and then there were teams were sent in or whatever, and that was the last we heard of it.
Yeah.
There was nothing further in that story. There was just nothing. I looked, I did, and there was nothing. And it's the funniest. But this is the news cycle. We've brought up a generation of TikTokers and Netflixers and whatever else. I don't know whatever else they're using these days. I don't even know. But it's a short attention span, and the truth is this: there's just so much information, Dave, so much news.
Yeah.
And it has to be, because the thing is this: in the olden days, you got your news via the radio, the newspaper, maybe the television, right? That was pretty much it. Any other news sources didn't really exist. A gossip and talking people, no, sure. You travel, maybe see things, that's wonderful. And now, I couldn't even begin to count all of the news sources that we have. Sources of information, points of data, etc. Couldn't start. The internet is ubiquitous, and the internet is accessible on any device, with some smarts on it, right? Print is a medium that is struggling. Radio is struggling. TV, like traditional TV, is struggling. Streaming services are not so much, but even streaming services aren't doing as well, right? And it's all about content, and content creators are now in the private sphere. YouTube, for one, or Rumble, or whatever.
That's right.
It's even TikTok. These are usually, the vast majority are not professional people that do this.
Yeah, right? That's true. Yeah, or they've fallen out of the mainstream media.
Yeah. And
now are doing their own channels.
Yeah,
they've got a larger audience than they had before.
Because once you're on the internet, right, you're transcending borders.
Yeah,
it's no longer. It doesn't matter anymore where you actually are. Who cares? Irrelevant. You are where you are.
You mentioned streaming services, and did you know that Foxtel used to have a pay TV monopoly? Do you remember?
Oh,
before, the Netflixes and the Hulus and the Prime and the Disney Plus and everyone else, right?
Yeah, 100%.
But did you know that it's just being sold?
I did not know that.
It's been sold to billionaire-backed DAZN. Now, I don't know what that is.
Okay, I don't know either.
They said it was a deal that was a long time coming. Sports streaming service DAZN will become Foxtel's new owner in a deal worth $3.4 billion.
Huh.
And I remember the day that it turned from Galaxy into Foxtel. I'd been with Galaxy for a couple of years, and when it went to Foxtel in '95, when was it? 98 or something like that. 95, I was already there. Just crazy, Mackie. Crazy times.
It is. It is, and you know what?
3.4 billion. That's nothing.
What we have given people now, the people that have access to the technology, I should say, we've given them the ability to do whatever they want, pretty much. Watch what they want, where they want, where they want, and that is actually, look, it's sad, because at least in the olden days, in my mind, the olden days, I'm crusty as a dinosaur, I guess. But the family used to come together to watch a show, or
That's
shows,
right.
or movie, right? And I still get this when I take my kids to the movies. But
The
you know what?
collective
You know how much?
experience, yeah.
But you know how much it costs to go to the
Oh, it's
movies in Australia?
ridiculous. Mm-hmm.
I used to pay $5 for a ticket.
Yeah.
Maybe not a
Uh-huh.
couple bucks for popcorn and a Coke when I was younger. Now, family of 5.
Forget it.
It's,
I couldn't
$100.
imagine.
$100 doesn't get you anywhere.
No. Did you know
Okay.
we spent $44 at the concession stand
Yeah.
on one. This is all we got. We got one large popcorn. It was a bucket, like a bucket, a chicken-sized bucket.
Yeah.
And in Australia, you don't get melted butter. You just get like a flavored powder that goes
Yeah,
on it.
yeah.
I know in America when I was there, they would go, "How many squirts of butter do you want?" And it was dissolving the popcorn as they spoke, and when you got to the bottom, it was like an inch deep. Oh, good days, happy
I'm
days.
taking that home.
You're going to be careful it didn't leak out the bottom because it would ruin anything. And we got 2 large Cokes, possibly 2 litres each or something, and a little packet of pods, Mars bar pods. $44. Ridiculous. But Mackie, it reminded me of a joke by Stephen Wright.
Go on.
He goes, "I got to the cinema the other day for bringing my own food." He said, my argument is the concession stand prices are outrageous. Besides, I hadn't had a barbecue in a long time.
That's nice.
I do love Stephen Wright, and if you're anyone but Stephen Wright, you're stealing my bit. So, yes, completely outrageous. We bought the tickets, though. My wife works for a company, and you get vouchers, and we use vouchers to buy the tickets. So the movie was effectively free for us.
Oh, that's good.
But the food costs more than the tickets.
Yeah, that'd be right. That'd be right.
I mean, next time I'm going to go to Coles Worth.
Look,
Coles
what
Worth.
I did,
Mickey. Yep.
I brought myself a packet of chips and I bought some,
Mm-hmm.
M&Ms and whatever. The kids could, order what they wanted, but still, because you're saving 80% on the food cost.
Yeah, that's right.
And I recently became a member at Costco.
I
anyway.
love Costco.
Oh, Costco is great.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, does it have everything you want? No, not necessarily, but it has what you need in large quantities, which in the long term are actually pretty cheap. So we go.
I'll tell you how we made the most of it, and that was co-oping with people.
Yes.
So instead of just doing it like a shop just for yourself, you co-op with some friends, and you all go there, and you buy it all through the card, and you're all saving money then.
That's exactly right. And
But
not everything's family.
Not everything is cheaper than retail. There's some things
No.
there that that's asking a bit much, right?
Yeah, but a
You're
lot of
asking me
things are
to
cheap.
believe.
Yeah.
I believe. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, like the bulk frozen stuff is really good.
I mean, you never eat a pie the size that Costco sells. I don't know who buys that. I'll be honest with you, but that's just.
You mean the hot food?
Well, no, I'm talking. Oh, that's big. No, I'm talking about like apple pies and cakes and such. They're massive.
Oh, but I like that.
Oh, hey,
So I
diabetes
would.
is marching swiftly.
I remember walking to Sara Lee Factory because it's just around the corner from me, and they have an outlet store, and I would buy 2 frozen apple pies, and I would eat one in the middle of summer. I'd eat one still frozen as I walked home with the other one, just to ensure that one got home. It's like 3 Ks,
Nice.
3 Ks walk, right? Nearly 2 miles, and just to ensure that because walking there and it's a long walk. I just wish I had something to eat, and you go, I'm carrying an apple pie, it's frozen. Yeah, that's just a little window into my world. It's like when they sold Maltesers at work. I'd buy 2 boxes.
Well, such a little window, is it, Dave? If you have to come through it.
It's getting bigger. The incredible shrinking suit problem.
They shrank it again.
So,
really?
So I had to say that. Look, I put on the screen here. I did put on the screen the Russian gas transit deal that expires on the December 31st, a couple of days, 3 days time, and how the NATO nation Slovakia has threatened Ukraine with action if Russian gas transit is hindered. So they're saying, I wouldn't, right? Don't be an idiot. You keep that gas going because we need it. It's wintertime. Don't turn it off now. I like how it was signed in winter. Because if it was signed in like spring or something, no one would really care. We're gonna
yeah, I'm still warm. I don't care.
That's right. Got 9 months till we need to do something about it. But no, do it right then. That's pretty good negotiating, I reckon, to get that. Delay it just enough so that when they re-sign it, they've got to do it. But I heard something really stupid. I can't confirm this at all. Really, really stupid. That there's a push from Putin into NATO countries, like to his upper west, northwestern, near, who is it? Switzerland and who is it up there?
No, that's the Scandinavian countries and also the Baltic states.
Yeah. So look, I don't know if it's true. We have to wait and see. I think it would be a really silly move.
So to be clear, the Baltic states were a part of the USSR until they declared independence back in the 90s. Okay, so that's one. Mm-hmm. The Scandinavian states, they've always been on high alert. That's why a lot of them signed up with Hitler to fight, any potential Russian incursions, etc. Mm-hmm. So plus, they were Hitler's natural allies as far as Hitler was concerned, or blonde and blue-eyed. But so there's always been. And the funny thing is this, I don't know if people know this, but the Rus, R-U-S, the tribe that, more or less founded Russia, are actually of Viking extraction. They're actually Vikings that founded Russia. So there's this connection there, if you will. Certainly, over the centuries with the invasion of the Huns and the Mongols going through there, the genetic stereotypes have changed, and there's more of a Slavic bent to the entire nation, more than before, because the Han and the Mongol invaders didn't make it to the Scandinavian nations. They kept sort of Russia and then down south into Western Europe. But look, is it something that is possible? Absolutely. Because the thing is this. No one is really putting any real resistance up against Russia, apart from the Ukrainians with Western help, but no one's actually putting boots on the ground, at least officially, right? Mm-hmm. They're not. So Putin goes, I'll do what I want. Mm-hmm. I got North Koreans now fighting for me, right? China is still financing me, thank you very much. Hungary is really on my side, the guy, right? And the rest of Europe, they can get stuffed as far as Putin is concerned. If he wants to expand into the Baltic states, at a very minimum, I think that's what he wants. He might as well take the extra step and go into the Scandinavian states. But the problem is that those Scandinavian states recently became members of NATO, right? Something that never, for 50 years, they decided, I don't want to be part of NATO. Sweden, Denmark, etc., right? I don't want to be part of NATO. They're part of NATO. Okay, and it was Putin's attack on the Ukraine that pushed them into becoming part of NATO. So if he attacks a NATO country, right, it's game on. And the only thing that would stop him from complete annihilation is his nuclear arsenal. That's it.
That's right.
His conventional army is, as we have seen, completely incapable of even taking the Ukraine.
Yeah.
Incapable. Can't do it. Can't be done. The only thing he has, that's why he keeps threatening. Oh, I'm going to use nuclear weapons. Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But if he does it, that's the end of Russia.
That's right.
Yes, the stock is big, and yes, he could destroy a big chunk of
the
Europe.
Rest of the planet.
Well, the rest of the planet, the retaliation would be swift.
Oh yeah.
And it would hinder or incapacitate all of his launch capabilities, right?
But he also has a dead man switch, so if they do get hit, that it'll launch a secondary round.
Potentially. But, and again, if it came to that, one would think that people around Putin would probably not want that. Now, there's a rumor going around that Putin has either Parkinson's or Alzheimer's. People say Parkinson's. So, and I remember I said months ago, well, actually years ago now, that I thought, well, and same with Netanyahu, I was thinking that both of those guys are really, really sick, right? And they're really at the end of the tether, and they want to leave the legacy. Of Netanyahu, the legacy is easy. Gaza is no longer inhabited by Palestinians.
That's right.
Hurrah! For Putin, the legacy is, oh, look, I've made Russia great again. Okay, I've taken Chechnya, I've taken parts of, or Crimea at least, I've taken parts of Ukraine, I've taken maybe the whole of Ukraine, and I've taken Poland, I've taken the Baltic states, whatever. You could argue that's what he wants. So it's not good. The situation is not great. And we haven't been closer to war since the Cuban Missile Crisis. Global
That's right. Yeah, the Doomsday Clock, Mickey. That reminds me.
What thing?
I've got the graph on the screen, and well, we're about to learn coming January what they've decided to do, keep it on hold or continue it. I'm not sure, but looking to see that it hasn't changed so far, and it is the closest to midnight that it's ever been. Surely we're all smart enough to back away from this precipice. Yeah, silly me, right? But I believe that we're capable of doing it, but I don't think there is a want from any of the players at the moment who are sitting there all bar humbug each other and crossed arms and why am I even here at the table kind of sense that they don't care. I think the big-headedness from all of the countries that there is that they're going to be the ones that win. The other countries are inconsequential, and look, if that continues, it's not going to be good. Maybe the drone thing, because the drone thing is weird. I did post, Mackie, I posted on my personal YouTube a video that I screen grabbed because once it's on the platform I took it from. I'm not owning it. It's not mine. Someone made it, but I proved it was AI. And it looks terribly convincing. It's amazing how good it looks, but it's not real. And people are now using that same video to prove that that drones are real and look, they shot one down. No, they didn't. And it's just how all it's doing is showing how good AI is now. In the break, I'll flick you a copy of it, Mackie, so you can have a look.
Oh, but look, I mean, these days, what can you trust? What can you trust anymore?
Very little.
I'm hard pressed. That's the thing. You're right. Very little.
We only have 1 or 2 minutes left, I think. So it goes around so quick these days. I can barely. Oh, here it is. This is the one that I did. Copy link. I'll just do it now. Who cares? And I'll even put it in the chat room so our listeners can watch it. But anyway, look. Since the drone thing has sort of fallen off the radar, and no one wants to admit it, that it is either a thing, it isn't a thing, they're not going to shoot them down, or they are going to shoot them down, they're not Iranians, there's no mothership. I wonder what it really is. Well, that's the end of the show. Halfway. So when we come back from the break, we are going to be talking about human medical experiments in part 7 of the series of those. Do catch yourself up. Do like, share, subscribe, and comment. And we'll catch you after the very short break. Take the time to donate.